Another episode of Lead Up for Women, Speak Up to Lead Up. We're on episode 116 today, and I'm excited because we have two amazing guests, and our focus is really on how you can create your own future. And for those of you that know me very, very well and have been part of this podcast or part of Lead Up for Women, you know that I am consistently preaching about creating our own future, and we are the creators starting from the inner to the creators of the outer of our world. It's hands down the one thing I know that we create is our reality. So if you don't like what's going on in your world, change it, create it. And many of you are saying, great, well, I don't know how to do that. Well, we're going to talk a little bit about that today, especially with our guests and how they have been able to make some significant changes in their life because they weren't happy where they were at one point, and today they're thriving. So again, you can find all about Lead Up for Women at leadupforwomen.com. We have events every Tuesday where our members come forward and teach their genius. So we are always helping you put tools in your toolbox to live the best life that you deserve, and not only living that best life, because there's so much under the surface of that, but really getting the exposure and being the influencer that you want to be to attract the right customers. Because, hey, ladies, let's face it, we don't have hobbies, right? This is about making money. So let's jump in right away today. And let's start with Lori Osborne, who is our first guest. And I'm excited that she's here today because Lori and I actually met at a networking event. And this is why I am so passionate about getting out to networking events and meeting people and expanding your influence, because you never know where that's going to land. And since meeting Lori, I've been able to meet other people in Lori's community. She's been able to meet other women in my community, which has led to more opportunities for Lori, which again, her meeting women in my community has led to more opportunities for them. So it really is an endless ripple. Lori Osborne is the founder and chief solution architect. I love that. For BizBolster Web Solutions. She specializes in digital marketing solutions for small businesses, include designing and building custom websites that business owners can manage themselves if they choose to. She does reputation management and loyalty programs, planning and implementing sales funnel processes, SEO services, and more. Let me just tell you, Lori, everybody needs those services. So welcome to the show, Lori. We're happy to have you.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
So, Lori, I know that we all came out of the womb smart and confident and wanting to have our own paths. But you haven't been building websites, since you were one. So, give us a little peek into where were you before you built BizBolster? Where did you come from, and where's the passion that you have? That is built this successful business that you built today?
Well, I was a technical recruiter for 12 years, and I decided that I was tired, ironically, of straight commission. So I thought I'd be self-employed. Um, but it was the whole idea of sales. Again, I'm self-employed, I sell, but it just, I got tired of it, and I decided I wanted to be in technology. I wanted to touch it, not talk about it. So I completely changed careers, went from 6 figures to 50,000 a year, and became a project manager over time. But in that process, I touched everything. I touched websites, I touched testing, documentation, every possible. Really woke me up and made me go, you know what? I'm going crazy in this job. I was working ridiculous hours. I was so stressed all the time. And things happened financially that it was just a message to me between the brain tumor and the finances that it's time to leave the rat race. So I had surgery. I still have the tumor, but I had surgery that really impacted me, kind of put me on disability for a while. We decided to move from Denver to Florida to reduce our cost of living and set ourselves up to not rely on me financially. And then I spent about a year just digging in and playing and going, where is my passion now? Because, I knew I didn't want to do what I was doing. And I had done a lot of website testing and project management in my last job, and I loved it. And I started doing website development and realized oh my gosh, this is the one thing I've done in my life that I can combine creativity with all those other skills I had developed in business over the years, the project management, the testing, the being organized and all of that. I got to combine them and be creative. And I had never had a creative job before. So it really just lit up a passion in me that I had never had. I'd, been good at jobs, but I hadn't loved jobs before. And literally I wake up in the morning, I go to sleep. I live in my head websites all day, and I love it. I just absolutely love it. I love doing
Yeah.
it.
Thank you for sharing your passion on that, because I don't remember having that conversation with you in the past about your medical hurdles that you ran into. But I'm assuming, and thank you again for your vulnerability, but I'm assuming that had to have been very scary for you and your family.
Honestly, it still is. It's there. It will always be there. It sits on my pituitary, so it messes with me and it gives me headaches and everything else. But honestly, I will forever be grateful for it, which sounds insane, but that's what life is. It was a message, and it was a slow down, get your act straight message that's actually kind of bringing tears to my eyes. But yeah, I mean, I could go into a lot more detail about how scary it was, but I'm blind in one eye from surgery. I mean, it was a mess, but it really changed the focus of my life, and I would not be doing website development today if it wasn't for it. I
What a
mean,
gift.
yeah,
I believe that, and it's so hard to say what a gift for something that, depending upon your perspective, I guess, right? If you
right.
don't like your outer world, like we talked about, change it.
Yep.
And you did. And you moved from Denver and said, we could do this differently. And I love your out of box thinking on how, instead of you like, how do I make it work here? How do I earn more income here? What are we going to do here? You said, where could we go? We could live anywhere in the world that we want to live.
Hmm.
And that you picked Florida, which is, I think, absolutely beautiful, and it's like paradise every day, right? Living in
Hmm.
Florida. So you're in paradise every day for someone who lives in the desert like I do, where it's, it was 123 last week. So you're in this beautiful area. We can pick up and move wherever we want. And that's what you
Hmm.
did. And you defined and created a life based on not knowing how long you had left in that life. And isn't it at that point when so many of us finally do what we love? And
Yeah.
I mean, when that happened to you, Lori, and you started doing what you loved, was there ever a time that you've said, why didn't I do this before?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, when I was doing the recruiting work, my last position was my own business. And it was problems with my ex-husband and all kinds of disasters. So it kind of burned me on the idea of being self-employed again. And I was a little nervous and not sure about it. And honestly, when I started this, I mean, I told everybody I'm on disability. I don't want to make very much money. I'm just dabbling. I just want to dabble. I like doing it. So I dabbled for like 3 years. Just I did it, and I claimed it as a business, but I dabbled. I hobbied.
And I know
And
your story, and how interesting is that you just said, you told yourself, I don't really want to make a lot of money. I just want to dabble. And what happened to you through that time? You just made a little bit of money and you dabbled. Like, you literally got exactly what you asked for. It's like we set the temperature in the room, right? If our mindset is set to making just a little bit of money, or just enough to be comfortable, or just enough to pay my bills, we will always make that amount of money. Like, we set
yep,
that for ourselves. But then I
yep,
remember when I met you and you're like, I'm ready to blow the lid off this thing.
yep.
Like, I am ready now to expand. And I've seen you do nothing from the time I've met you but expand in so many different areas, to the point that you just landed a huge contract. Did you not?
I did. I did.
Yeah.
Biggest ever.
Biggest
The
contract ever.
contract I just got was my entire income last year
Yeah. In one contract.
in one
Yeah.
contract.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you're what are you doing? Talk to us about, because I want, and the listeners are looking for action, when they come across this news, when they know that their life isn't what they desire for it to be, what are some tips that you could give them that really just deep down worked for you and what you needed in your life? Like, what did you do to keep up your spirits, to grow your confidence, to know that this is what you wanted to do and you weren't going to be taken down?
Whew, it's a hard one. I mean, really, I've always believed everything you said at the beginning. I've always believed that we create what we put out there. And I have spent the last like 15 years overcoming many years of the opposite. And so I really, once I got to the point where I knew that it was time to make money, um, last year and going and really starting this year, I put myself in a position of surrounding myself with the right people. That was the first thing. I knew I had to expand from my local network. So I started seeking, I literally just got online one day and started seeking national women's organizations because I knew I needed to find the right organization. And honestly, the first one I signed up for was the one that just led to the rest of it. And then I've just continued to put out there, literally in writing, in speaking, and thinking, I am going to do this. This is the year. This is the year that BizBolster is going to grow and make a difference and be national and bring other people on. And I've just every day reinforced that mentality and again, surrounding myself with the people that will give me the leads, that will introduce me to the right people. You were like 3 steps in from that women's organization that one led to the next, led to the next. I have joined a couple of mastermind groups and surrounded myself with people that I know that their expertise has helped me get to that next level. I've hired a business coach. You know, I've done the things. I've said it's time to invest in me and recognize I have to do some big steps to get to the next level and then just do it and keep the attitude that I can do this and I'm going to do it and I'm just nothing's going to stop me.
Yeah, I'm glad that you shared that. Those were wonderful tips because it really is a muscle that you have to flex daily, right? You don't walk into the gym the first day to become a bodybuilder and walk out like, look at this. I'm completely transformed, right? But yet so many people give up. So I love that you said it's every day. Every day you say to yourself, this is the year. I'm making this happen. And you've taken the action. As much as we manifest anything in our lives, because we truly do, I don't care what word you use, if you attract it, if you manifest it, if you create it, whatever you call it, our outside world reflects our inner world. And your outside world reflected your inner world in your previous years. And sitting here
Mhm.
today with this self-esteem and the confidence that you ensue with others and that you're just exuding, it's like no wonder why she's so successful, because you're not taking no for an answer and you took action. I think that's a
Yes.
big piece that I want to remind our listeners is that, Lori doesn't wake up and meditate for 4 hours a day and say, I will create, this will happen, and then take zero action and go to lunch and go to bed. Right. So she's taking the action. She hired the people around her that she needed. Some of them were paid, some of them were free, some of them she just needed to be in proximity of the people that she knew could get her where she needed to be. And as women, we can't be afraid to ask. If you don't ask, you don't get. And ask for people to open doors for you. Take risks that feel scary. Those scary risks, calculated, of course, those scary risks are what help you leap and what help you really grow. But you're going to go uncomfortable first, right? I'm sure there's been a lot of uncomfortable, scary moments this year for you, Lori, right?
Oh yeah, some of those big checks I've written have been very scary. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I just have to go, this is an investment. You know, this is an investment in the next step. And I am confident that those investments are going to turn around and have a return.
Yeah, and they will, and they always do. And you're a success story of how we can create our own futures, because you're creating your own future and exactly what you want it to look like, whether that means you live in a different place and get to enjoy vacations differently, take time off, create your day, and how, what days you want to work. I tell everyone that Friday, no one can book on my schedule. It's a day for me to do self-care if I want, or it can be a day for me to hang out with my kids if I want, or it can be a day to just catch up on projects. But no one is putting time on my schedule that locks me into being obligated to anyone else but myself on that day. And it's amazing when I get to Thursday evening how I feel going to bed knowing the freedom of Friday that's mine, even though
Yes.
I might be still working from 5 in the
Yeah.
morning, it's still my day. And just that perspective is huge. So again, she gave some great nuggets today. We have to flex that muscle every morning when we wake up and believe in ourselves and understand it's going to get uncomfortable and there's going to be some scary leaps. But when you believe in yourself and you know you can do it, look at what Lori's been able to make happen. So Lori, you've been just a shining light today. And I'd love for you to share with our listeners, how can they reach you? How can they, if they want a new website built or a new design? I know you work on, online. You also work on online loyalty programs, reputation management. So pretty much anybody that has a business or has a website, you can help them. So talk to us about how we reach you.
Sure. My website is bizbolster.com. You can find me there. I have contact information there. I also have bolsterreviews.com. That is the reputation management and loyalty program that you can check out. And I also do have a special. Is this a good time to mention
Yes,
it?
please offer that to the listeners.
Okay.
They love them.
So I do website reviews, and what that includes is an SEO review before we get on the phone. And I go through your entire website. I check all the buttons, all the links, make sure everything works. And then we get on a Zoom call for about an hour, and I go through your website and give you my feedback on what I think works, doesn't work. If I was doing it, what I would change, and just kind of a general overall, how does my life look on the web, basically. I normally charge $197 for that, but for this, I'm giving you $50 off. So all you have to do is go to bizbolster.com/connect. That has my scheduler on it, and you can purchase the website review there and enter code LEADUP06.
LEADUP06. All right. And I want you to send me that because I don't think I have that. And I want to make sure I post that. So if you could drop
Will
that for
do.
me in the chat, then that would be great. And I'll make sure I copy and paste it and we get it out there. And for those of you listening on the podcast, all of these links are available for you right here at your fingertips. And you can click on that and take advantage of that amazing offer. And by the way, I have had someone go in and review my website before for SEO and links. And let me tell you, it is amazing what you figure out is not working on your website, or the links are broken, or you're not getting the exposure where you need it. And this is not about working harder. It's about working smarter. So hiring someone like Lori to do this work for you, it's you will easily get that money back, an investment of what you invest in Lori for that. So Lori, thank you again so much. So let's move on to our second guest, Tasha Singleton, who is the founder of the TJS Financial Solutions and the host of the Secrets of Earning Money show podcast, which I've been on and have had so much fun having her be my host. She's dedicated to helping people take control of their personal economy and life with over 2 decades of experience in business. Tasha, that's an amazing resume. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. And Lori, I'd like to congratulate you too on that contract. That's great.
Yeah.
And that sending a message and slowing down perspective is so important, because how we visualize anything changes how the outcome of it. So you could have perceived it as something bad, but you turned that into something good. You realized the gift it was. So that's great.
Yeah. And, I always say if we're still alive, we're still in our purpose. So we're not done. So God had something very special planned for you. And apparently you were very stubborn, Lori, and you were not listening very well on what he had planned for you. So that was quite an enormous move to get you to shift to where you are. But again, there's so many lessons that we don't understand. it's always on God's time. So you're exactly where you need to be, Lori. You're exactly
Amen.
where you need to be.
Amen.
And Tasha, thank you for sharing that. So Tasha, I know you've helped some, I've heard some stories, you've helped some amazing people through your lifetime of doing this, but being, in business for 2 decades, why do you do it? Why you are, in such service of other people to help them be financially savvy, really understand finances and the secrets of that. So talk to us a little bit through how you do that with your clients.
Okay. Well, I come in and I actually take the time to get to know them and just talk to them and find out where they are and where they want to be. We just take time, and I want to make sure that your values and my values are aligned. Because if we're not in alignment, then nothing I do is going to actually help. So the first thing we have to do is sit down and just meet each other and talk and see, where do you want to go? Where are you right now? Because I have, as you know, as I explained it before, I've had a client who I enjoyed working with, but I kept pressing him to get life insurance. And unfortunately, he kept putting it off. He kept putting it off. And so I insured his business, his home, his car, his toys, motorcycles and stuff, but and got him his health insurance, but his life insurance, he put off. And the last time he put it off, 2 days later, when he was supposed to come in, he never made it back. Mm. And he left a wife with a brand new house with a mortgage on it, a brand new car, luxury vehicle, a business that she has never run, didn't know how to run, and a baby, a toddler to support. And without life insurance, basically she lost everything in the end. But one of the things that drives me is that particular incident, because I don't ever want to see another woman have to go through that again. And 58% of us actually leave our financial decisions up to the male partner that we have, whether we're dating or we are married, we still leave it up to him. And the goal is to help women talk about money and to help them decide that, hey, they can take control of it. You need to know what's going on in your house with your finances, even if you only take care of it quarterly. You have to step up, because one of the things that happened with this client is she didn't know anything. She didn't know where the bank accounts were. She didn't know how to access it. And I really don't want to ever be on that side again. Mm-hmm. I did everything that I thought I could, but actually, when you see that, you feel like you still didn't do enough.
Yeah. Amen, sister. I have to say, I think my husband wishes he had more control in the house over money, but I just have been a very independent person. Once I saw my parents get divorced at 12, I was like, wait a minute. So my mom was telling me I need to get married to a guy, have babies, and then that's going to be taken care of forever. And I was like, not exactly. I just watched him walk out the door and left us with nothing, and we're on food stamps. So that's never going to happen to me. So at the age of 12, I decided I needed to be independent, maybe a little too much at that age, but I can definitely say that it's such a heartfelt story, what you're sharing. And if she just would have known, taking control to say, we're partners in this, let's do this together. I have girlfriends, Tasha, that I've had these conversations with, that they didn't know if whose name the house was going to be left in, right? Because they got married at a later date when they were both, older and adults. Before you know it, the house is actually being left to his daughter. And she's like, but if you kick the can before me, because you're older than me, where am I going to live? So right. That was something it just got brought up in a conversation, and we were all like, whoa, you need to go. And then before we know it, she's having the conversation. So Tasha, I love that you're out there educating women and understanding that you can't, no matter if it's your own finances, in your business, or if it's the finances for your home, your personal, you have to be in control of that. And not to the point where your husband doesn't know anything about it, but you need to be partnering in understanding the finances in your home. And maybe you've never ran the business. We have this in my house, right? My husband owns a drone business. I'm not a drone pilot. I have no interest in flying drones. He knows that, right? But I know where all the passwords are to get into all the accounts. I have access to everything. I know enough about the business that I could sell it. I could access cash, keep things moving if I needed to. Same with him, with me, right? Because we have separate accounts that the other one doesn't ever get into, which is totally okay. But it's just having that preparation, right? So talk to us about that and what you've seen with your clients about preparing them and the conversations that you're having since that time, and with clients in your life where they've had to endure that pain.
Well, what I do now is I talk to them and I explain to people about that incident and that pain, because it actually happens more often than you think. And then you do have the unfortunate side where, yes, there are some times when the man says, hey, she's better at finances than me, so I just leave everything up to her. And they don't want to even come to the meeting to sit down. So now I don't allow people to meet. If we're going to talk about your finances, if you are married, then both of you have to be in the room. Okay? Because one cannot do all the planning.
Yeah, I love
Okay.
that.
So
Yeah.
it's, once again, it's a values thing. And there are some people who say, well, I'm in charge of that and I just don't want him involved because he just can't do it, or she just can't do it. She's just not a numbers person. And on that, I have to gracefully bow out and say that, well, we're not the right fit. But what I like to do is sit down and have a conversation with both of them to see, because everybody brings in their own family's history when it comes to money, in addition to what you learned along the way and you picked up from friends and family.
So in
Friends
other words, we're completely screwed up, and we all know that. Like, to get where Lori has gotten, right, to switch her mindset for her to be able to start bringing in the revenue she desired, she had to unlearn a lot of the old ways that we have been molded to who we are today. That was about, like, it's hard to earn money and money doesn't grow on trees, and what am I made of money, and no, we don't have the money, or they separate themselves, and people that are rich or bad, or it's called the filthy rich. Why are they filthy? I don't understand that. Like, where did that word come from? So you're right. I believe there's a lot of unlearning we need to do, because we come in, I don't even know how men and women get married and make it anyway, because they're totally different breeds, and then they're raised in two different families, and they're totally different people. But somehow we make it work. But I see your point, Tasha, and it's not that we're empowering women to take over and be like the breadwinners and the providers, and everything Lead Up for Women stands for is about empowering yourself. It's not about women taking over the world and leaving the men behind or suppressing them. I think men are some of the best partners that we have in life and in business and in everything that we do. And it takes really the synergy between the two of us, especially in corporate America, as entrepreneurships, to work together. So talk to us a little bit about where you are now with your business and what it is that you love so much.
What I love is making a difference in people's lives. Every time I do something, I sit down and I have a value conversation with someone, I change their lives. And when I do it with the woman, I change the next 5 generations. When I show them how to set their money up so that they have a 5-account system, so that they can free up money, so that they can save and invest and create the lifestyle that they want, so that they can be financially independent, that changes lives. Because when you teach it to a woman actually takes it and she passes it down from generation to generation. A man will pass it down, but he usually only passes it down to the next generation. As we know, grandma is in charge of everything, right? And great grandma. So that's why I'm really passionate about helping women. I know when I sit down and I talk to you about planning your estate, I sit down, I talk to you about retirement, I'm talking to you about protecting your business. I know they're going to be next 5 generations, your family, by the time the 5th generation gets up, it's going to be a real good legacy.
I remember a quote one time, and I can't remember who said it, but I can visually see it. And it said, teach a man and you teach a man, teach a woman and you teach generations. And that was the quote. And it was so, so true. Not that, there's anything wrong with the way men learn, but we are always and nurture, and we want to be able to provide. Every time we learn something, I want to share it with everyone else. Hey, guess what I learned that's going to help you build your business? It's great, right? We're not keepers of like trying to hide stuff and being in that lack mentality. So you talked about 5 steps or the steps that you to for 5 accounts. So what are some of the first steps for the listeners right now that are, or the viewers that are listening to this? What's the first step that really they should take if they know that they're not aware of their finances or one of their spouses are not, and they realize like, I don't know the passwords to get in their accounts? Or what is kind of the first step for preparation for them other than awareness to realize you don't have it all together, right? That's kind of the first step.
Yeah, well, that is the first step. But the next step is actually taking the time to get it together. Make the time to have the conversation with your partner. And when you go to have that conversation, make sure that you already have all of your information together. So that way they can see that you're serious. If this is something that you've never done before, you need to say, hey, these are my accounts. This is what I know that we pay, but I don't know how to get into the electric bill account online. So how do I do that? Which account do we have at which bank do we use to pay that? So it's time for you to make a list of everything you know that has to do with the household. Plus, you have to have anything that you have that's separate on your own. If something happens to you, they have to be able to get into that. So the very first thing is having the conversation, making the list, and starting to track everything so that you know what goes on each and every month and what you just need to know to live.
Yeah. And then what, for them to be able to realize financial freedom and grow their wealth and really understand their money, what's a couple tips you could give us for like the clients that you work with, you surround yourself with?
Okay, well, one of the first things that I do, it depends on where you are financially, but insurance is a very big thing because should something happen to you, the bills don't stop.
Mhm.
So you're giving your family the love letter. You're leaving them a love letter, that making sure that you're properly insured, making sure that if you have a business, you actually have everything in place for that as well, the necessary protections, because you don't want to build a business and lose it because of a lawsuit. We make sure that I sit down and make sure that you are structured correctly, because some people are still operating as a sole proprietor. That's not very good because you lose everything as a sole proprietor. Some people are operating in just a regular partnership, but they still don't have that corporate veil to protect them. So we sit down and we talk about everything. And you have to be willing to share everything in order for the advice that I give you to make a difference in your life. I can't help you protect yourself and grow your finances if you're not willing to be open and share with me.
Isn't it
That's why.
interesting that the 2 things we need is money and sex, and it's the 2 things no one ever wants to talk about?
Yeah.
Well, if you don't talk about money, then I don't really know how you're going to get it straight and attract more of it and be able to understand how to invest it, right? If we're not talking about money. And it's amazing how many people shut down because it's a shameful thing, right? It's pride, and they have shame, they have fear, and we all possess those at some point in our lives. But it's okay to talk about where you are at that moment, right? Accept where you are and just understand and have the transparency to know, how do you get to the next step? How do you get to the next level? Because you're never going to get there if you're not inquisitive about it and aren't truthful and transparent in where you are today.
And I think another thing is, like you said, the shame. People need to understand that you are where you are because of the things that the way you thought and the things that you did in the past.
Mhm.
That's not who you are right now. Because if that's who you are, you wouldn't be trying to fix it. You'd just be continuing living that way. So you are now a different person. That's your past. This is your present, and you're planning for your future. Start there. Don't worry about what happened in the past. Focus on now and where you are. And it's easier to get you to focus on the present and then go forward.
Yeah.
And then you can really create wealth. But if you keep dredging up the past, then you're never going to move forward.
I love that. It's beautiful. Well, on that note, because that was beautifully said, Tasha, thank you so much for that. Please share with our listeners what you have for them today, how they can reach you, where can they find you?
Okay, well, you can reach me on LinkedIn. I'm www.tashasingleton.com. On Facebook and social media, I'm at Tasha Inspires. And you can email me at info@tjsfinancialsolutions.com if you'd like to come and talk with me and let us do a no-cost complimentary estate planning review or retirement review and business protection review.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you so much, Tasha, for that and providing that to our listeners today. And if you want to create your own future and for that to be what it is that you want it to be, whatever that looks like, you have to take the first step. And the first step is to realize where you are today and what changes you want to make. And I think both Lori and Tasha shared with us how they've both had to do that in their lives and have had experience with customers and clients that have also had to do that in their lives and the changes that they've made. I mean, I don't even recognize who I am when I look back 3 years ago of who I was in corporate. Like, Lori, think about, do you even recognize who that girl was back then? I don't
Oh.
either. And I still get angry with my husband and say, why did you tell me to stay there for so long? Like, I love it out here.
Yes.
It's like a millionaire playground. I love being an entrepreneur. I love helping other people and bringing exposure to women, and especially women like the two of you today who are out there again serving so many other, women and men, and helping each one of us in a different area of our lives live the absolute best life that we can live. Because just as Lori shared with us, tomorrow is never promised. And she was really close to that and understanding that, especially after what she went through. And I'm sure she still feels like tomorrow's never promised to her. And so she gives everything she has to today, as Tasha does with her clients, because you just never know. In 2 days, someone you love so desperately, and if things aren't in order, it could change your life and devastate that forever, and your life would never look the same. So thank you again to the both of you for sharing your stories today, bringing your tips and tactical, practical tips to our listeners, and for being very vulnerable and sharing what it is that you do, and giving them opportunities to work with you. And just remember, ladies, you're the only you that's ever been. You're the only you that's ever going to be. There's never going to be another Lori. There's never going to be another Tasha. So how we live our life today matters. How we decide to pioneer our future, it matters, and it's up to you. You have to push the green light. You have to push the gas pedal, or you can push the brake and stay where you are forever. And then you're never really going to get what you really deserve out of life. And then you're robbing other individuals of what they needed from you because you're hiding. So we recommend that you step into the light, you shine your light bright, and share everything you have with the world, and stop hiding, because the world needs you at your best. So be you and be strong. And thank you for being with us today. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye for now.
Bye.